this video I'm solving some Snackdokus curated by the Sudoku Skunkworks. Snackdokus are small Sudoku or Sudoku adjacent puzzles designed to be solvable in a couple of minutes. Skunkworks have curated lots of these puzzles and they share them on the Cracking the Cryptic fan Discord server. They're currently in Season 10. Also, if you are a CTC Patreon, then the current Patreon rewards pack is an extra bite pack, which are 5x5 puzzles that are a little bit spicier than snacks. This particular video is the third and final part in a series showcasing Season 1 from early 2023. All the puzzles are linked below. Please try them and let me know how you did. Normal 4x4 rules apply. Digits on a palindrome, which is blue, must read the same from either end. So those two digits will be the same, those two digits will be the same, and so on. Digits on a thermometer must increase from the bulb. Digits separated by a black dot must have a 1:2 ratio. Not all dots are necessarily given. Okay, let's restart. I have to have a 2 on a black dot. So can that be a 2? That is the third digit in. That's 1, 2, 3. No, that can't be a 2 because one of those is a 2, and that matches up with that digit. So therefore that can't be a 2, and this must be a 2. That makes this 3 and 4 here. That is now a 2. This has to be a 1 or a 4, and so does that, which means that that is a 1 or a 4, and that is a 1 or a 4. That means that this is a 3, this is a 3, and this is a 3. Those two are the same. Well, that's a 2, that's a 1. There we go. That gives me a 4 there. That makes that a 1, that's a 1, that's a 4. 1 in there, 4 in there, and a 2 there. Fun snack. Thank you to SirCrumbleCat for making it. On Vacation by PjotrV. Normal 4x4 Sudoku rules apply, so the digits 1 to 4 in every row, column, and box. Digits along an arrow sum to the circled digit. Okay, let's restart. And that is at least a 1, 2, that is at least a 1, 2. This is therefore a 3, 4 pair. That is a 3, 4 pair. That is 1 and 2. This now cannot be a 1, 2 pair for that arrow, so that must be a 4. That makes that a 1 and a 3 to go there. That's a 2 and a 4 there. These two digits are 3. This must be 2 and 1 to complete the arrow. We get a 4 in there, a 3 there. That's 1. That is a 2, that's a 1, that's a 2, and that's a 4. And that was a fun little snack. Thank you, PjotrV. Snackdoku by Polycarp. Standard Sudoku rules apply, so the digits 1 to 4 in every row, column, and box. Digits separated by a black dot have a ratio of 2 to 1, so one is double the other. Digits separated by a white dot are consecutive. Not all dots are necessarily given. Let's restart. Okay. Options for a black dot are 1 and 2 or 2 and 4 in a 4x4 Sudoku. So I need to have one of those as a 2, and I need to have one of those as a 2. That's all of the 2s I expect to have in these two columns. So I can't put a 2 on here, but every white dot must have an even digit. Therefore that has to have a 4, and a 4 always goes with a 3 in a 4x4 Sudoku on a white dot. Now if this were a 4, this would have to be a 3, but I can never put a 3 on a black dot. So this must be 3, this must be 4. This is now 2 or 4. This must be a 1-2 pair. Okay. So 3 must go here. So that is 2 or 4. That's a 3 there. We get a 3 here. That is 2 or 4. That 2-4 pair makes this a 1 and this a 1. This is 2. We get a 4 there. We get a 2 there, a 2 there. That is not a 4 by this 4, so that's a 1. We get a 4 here, 2 there and 4 there, and a 1 there. And that was a fun little snack. Thank you, Polycarp, for making it. Aquarium Latin Square by Oripy. Normal 4x4 Latin square rules apply. So the digits 1 to 4 in every row and every column. There is no digit restriction on regions. Some aquarium. Shade some cells. Shaded cells represent water and unshaded cells represent air. In each aquarium region, water cells cannot be above air cells, and water flows so that it is always level. So any horizontal row within one aquarium is either all water or all air. Clues outside the grid indicate the sum of the digits in water cells in the corresponding row. Okay, let's restart the puzzle and let's have a go. All right, if this were all air, then this would have to be water and would have to be a 6, but that cannot be a 6. Therefore, these are all water. There we go. And the minimum they can be is 1, 2, 3, which is 6. So that is 4, and that is air. This 10 means that these are all water, because the 4 digits are going to sum to 10. This 4. This water here means that all of this must be water, because water can't be above air. And now this 4 has to have at least those 2 digits. But if I had 3 digits, the minimum would be 6. So it is those 2 digits. Those are 1 and 3. That makes these air and 2 and 4. If these are air, water can't be above air, so they must be air. And now this is the only water digit, so that has to be a 3. That gives me a 1 there and a 3 there. That's a 2. That's a 4. This 4 makes this 2 and this 4. That's a 1-3 pair, and we know the order. That is a 1 there and a 3 there. 4 in this row must be here. That's a 2. That's a 2 there and a 1 there. And that was a fun little snack. Thank you to Oripy for creating it. Skyscrapers by Fuxia. Normal 4x4 Sudoku rules apply, so the digits 1 to 4 in every row, every column, and every box. Each digit in the grid represents the height of a building in its cell. Taller buildings obstruct the view of shorter ones behind them. Clues outside the grid give the number of buildings visible from that vantage point in the clues row or column. So this 3 here means that if you were looking in this direction from right to left, there would be 3 buildings that you can see, with the 4th building being obstructed by a taller building in front of it. Okay, let's restart. Okay, this sees 3 buildings, so if the 4 were in one of those 2, it would only see 1 or 2. So the 4 has to be in one of those 2. This sees 3 buildings, so that can't be a 4. So this is. And we get a 4 in one of those 2. This sees 3 buildings, so that can't be a 4 there. That can't be a 4 by Sudoku, so that is a 4. and that gives us a 4 in one of those. Where does the 3 go in this column? If it went anywhere other than this, it would see this digit plus the 3 plus the 4, which would break the 2. So that has to be a 3, and now that is a 1-2 pair. That is a 1 or a 2. One of these is a 3. If that were the 3, it would only see 2, so that's a 3 and that's a 1 or a 2. One of these two is a 3 and is going to obstruct that. So I need a smaller digit before the 3. That means that this is a 3 by Sudoku, so that's a 4 and that's a 4. This is a 1 or a 2 here. That's a 1 or a 2. That's a 1-2 pair. This is the third digit in this row, and therefore this one needs to be smaller than that. So that's a 1, that's a 2, and that's going to resolve the rest of our 1s and 2s. And with that, we are done. And that was a fun little puzzle. Thank you to Fuxia for making it. This is Vector Decomposition by Clocksmith. Normal 4x4 Sudoku rules apply, so the digits 1 to 4 in every row, column and box. Digits along an arrow sum to the attached circle. Let's restart. Okay. This must be bigger than this because it's included in the sum. So, but this has to be at least a 3. Given that this has to be smaller than that, this must be a 3. That is a 1-2 pair. This has to be a 1 and a 4. That makes this a 2, this a 1, and this a 3. We get a 2 in there, 1 there, 4 there, 3 here, 4 here. That's a 3. That's the 1, that's a 2, that's a 2, and that's a 4. And that was a fun little snack. Thank you to Clocksmith for making it. Hinge by Andrewsarchus. Normal 4x4 Sudoku rules apply, so the digits 1 to 4 in every row, column and box. Digits on a between line must be strictly between the 2 digits on the bulbs at its end. So these 2 digits have to be between the digits on these 2 circles. Digits separated by a black dot are in a 2-to-1 ratio, so one's double the other. Not all possible dots are given. Okay, let's restart. Okay, I can never put a 1 or a 4 on a between line except in the circles, because there is no digit that would be smaller or larger as appropriate. Therefore, these must be 2 and 3. But they can repeat. All right. I do have to have a 2 on a black dot. In a 4x4, I get 1, 2, or 2, 4 for the black dot. So there is a 2 in one of those. That makes this a 3. That's now 2. That's a 3, and that's a 2. So let me think. 2 has to be in one of these 2 cells by Sudoku, but it can't be there because of this black dot. So that is a 2. This now has to be a 4, but I now need to put a 1 here in order to accommodate the 2. So the 3 goes in there. That's a 4. That's a 2. This is a 1, making this the 4. That's a 1. We get a 4 there, a 1 there, and a 3 there. Thank you very much to Andrewsarchus for creating that snack. This is 678 by MavericksJD. Normal 4x4 Sudoku rules apply, so the digits 1 to 4 in every row, column and box. Digits in a cage must sum to the total given in the top left corner, and digits cannot repeat in a cage. Let's restart. Okay, in a 6 cage, that has to be 1, 2, and 3. All 3 of those cells see that one, so that must be a 4. In a 7 cage, it has to be 1, 2, and 4. Those can't be 4, so that's a 4. That's a 1, 2. That's a 3. In a 7 cage, again, we have 1, 2, and 4. and that one's not a 4, so we get a 3 here. These two need to sum to 5 to make the 8, given we have the 3, and I cannot repeat a 3, so that is going to be 4, 1. That can't be a 4. That's a 1. That's a 4 there. That means that that is not a 4, and that is. Those are not 1s, so that's a 1 and that's a 1. That makes that 2. That's 1. That's 2. We get a 3 there, a 2 there, a 3 there, and a 2 there. And that was a fun little snack. Thank you, MavericksJD. For Murder by Stephen R. Normal 4x4 Sudoku rules apply. So the digits 1 to 4 in every row, column, and box. Digits in cages sum to the total in the top left corner. And the digit in a cell must be one of the pencil-marked digits where given. Okay. Let's have a go. All right. And I think I see where to start. Yes. This is called a bent triple or a Y-wing. If this is a 2, then this must be 4, and this must be 3, and then that cell has no fill. So that cannot be a 2. That must be a 1. That makes that a 4. This is now a 2. This 4 here makes that a 2. So that's a 3, and that's a 4. Then we get a 3 here, a 4 here, a 1 here, 3 in there, 2 and 1 go in. That's a 1. That's a 4, that's a 2, and that's a 3. And that was a very nice little snack, an example of the bent triple or Y-wing. Thank you, Stephen R, for making it. Whoops, no 5 by Wyrm. Normal 4x4 Sudoku rules apply. Digits along a blue region sum line have an equal sum within each box the line passes through. Okay, let's restart for the timer. Okay, this must be at least a 3 because of those two. This must also be at least a 3 because of those two. So that is a 3-4 pair. That becomes a 1-2 pair. That now sums to 3, so this sums to 3 and is a 1-2 pair. That makes this a 3-4 pair, but this digit can't be bigger than that. So that has to be 3, that has to be 4, that's 1, that's 4. We get a 4 there and a 2 there. Now we get a 1 there and a 2 there, a 3 here. That is now a 1-2 pair. That's the 2, that's the 1, 2 and 1 go in. 3 here, 4 here, and 3 here. And that was a fun little snack. Thank you very much for making it, Wyrm. Diagonal by JonBob. Normal 4x4 Sudoku rules apply. So the digits 1 to 4 in every row, every column, and box. On at least one of the diagonals, all of the digits 1 through 4 appear. Okay, let's restart. That 2 means that that's a 2, that's a 2, and that's a 2. This 1 means that that's a 1. That is a 3-4 pair. That's a 4, and that's a 3. That becomes 3-4. That becomes 1-4. That's 1-4. And that is 1-3 or 4. And that's not a 1. Okay. If this were a 1, then that would eliminate 1 from this cell, and then neither of these would have all 4 digits. So that can't be a 1, that must be a 4. That's a 1, that's a 1 here, and now if this were a 3, that would work. If this were a 4, that would also be a 4, and then neither diagonal would work. So that must be a 3, that's a 3, that's a 4, that's a 4, and we actually have it on both diagonals. Thank you very much to JonBob for creating that snack. That's the end of the series. If you enjoyed the solves, then please hit the like button. You can subscribe to see more, and I would love to hear your comments. I'm looking forward to next time. Be seeing you.